My name is Richard Danzy, and this is the economic impact of hosting the Super Bowl. Each year, millions of people across the world tune in to watch the big game between the NFL's top two teams. What many people don't understand is what goes into making this game go. Each year, teams meet with the NFL and the Super Bowl Selection Committee to decide who will host the Super Bowl in future years. A lot of these teams make large bids with the NFL to get this game to receive wide exposure and a certain revenue stream that the NFL promises the city and team will get. What I want to do with this video is find out if the revenue streams and benefits promised by the NFL are accurate in the end of the Super Bowl. Do the benefits outweigh the cost? Do the positives outweigh the negatives? Is the NFL using the idea and lure of big revenue games to bring in unsuspecting teams without getting the actual payoff in the end? First, let's get into the proposed benefits for hosting the big game. Clearly, there are benefits proposed by the NFL that makes hosting the Super Bowl so tantalizing. The first of these benefits would be premium ticket and luxury box pricing. These tickets are different than the individual seats for the stadium. With premium tickets and luxury box pricing, hosts get to keep luxury box revenue for a non-season game where prices get to rise, meaning the ticket prices for these boxes are a lot larger than the individual tickets. The next benefit would be a boost to a city's economy. The first point of this would be that New York in 2014, for hosting the Super Bowl, was claimed to have been proposed a $500 to $600 million influx to their economy. To get this influx, hotel room rates rise, meaning the big game causes these hotels to make these tickets a lot more expensive for the non-locals. The city gets wide exposure, for example, a city like Indianapolis, who isn't normally on the main stage. Tourists spend money in the city that wouldn't have been spent there without the big game, and the creation of jobs. New Orleans Super Bowl created 5,672 part and full-time jobs for the city. This Super Bowl seems to be a great way to get your economy on the right track. Now that the positives of hosting the game have been outlined, it's time to get into the argument portion of this video, otherwise known as the disadvantages of hosting the game and the externalities that may be result of it. With the previous benefits, it's easy to see why teams jump when the NFL wants to bring the Super Bowl to their city. The numbers sound great, but are they realistic? Do the benefits outweigh the cost of the host city? Recent studies have shown that the numbers the NFL proposes and pitches to cities and teams are largely inflated by the league. A study conducted by Lake Forest University economics professors show that the host cities actually make 1/4 less of what is estimated by the league. As stated earlier, the NFL claims a $500 to $600 million boost to New York City for hosting in 2014, and has put out press releases on other host websites listing the revenue brought in by the cities like New Orleans. According to the Lake Forest study, the NFL does not spend much time researching the economic benefit of the game at all, and in fact, the NFL comes to their estimate by seeing how many people will be in town and how much will be spent. Seemingly now, the NFL uses their estimate to fool cities into trying to grab a large payday by hosting. Let's get into the other disadvantages and costs and externalities from hosting. Teams are presented by the NFL to be able to grab a large revenue stream by hosting, but that is not the case. Overestimates are a large problem. An example of an overestimation would be how the NFL overestimates non-locals spending money on hotels, especially when a lot of the room money won't stay in the host city because the hotel is a national chain. For example, if the hotel is a Marriott and not a local New York hotel, the money is going to Marriott and not the city of New York. Operational infrastructural spending by the event holder is very high. To get the Super Bowl host up to date for the fans and for the NFL and for the state of the league in a few years, teams and cities have to constantly prepare to make sure their infrastructure is sound, and the spending can be very large. Visitor point of origin, monetary leakages can cause economic inefficiency. Monetary leakages are bound to happen when a team is awarded the Super Bowl years in advance. Throughout the preparation process, it's almost impossible to not have inefficiency and monetary leakages. While expenses for the host city are seemingly underestimated, host cities also seem to have their revenue streams not very abundant either. For example, ticket revenue, NFL merchandise, and similar revenues are taken by the NFL. The visitors spend money at NFL-sponsored events rather than local establishments, taking potential city profit. Overcrowding and crowding out keeps locals out of local establishments to avoid congestion for Super Bowl. For example, if New Yorkers were going to go see Broadway on the day of the Super Bowl, and that's their normal Sunday tradition, and they don't go because they want to avoid the traffic, the city actually loses money out on their normal income. Being in a large city like New York, an example of a $60 million profit does not affect their $1.4 trillion economy very much and shows little economic benefit, which brings the question, is the Super Bowl economically sound? The reason there are so many misrepresentation of estimates is because of the multiplier effect. The multiplier effect causes the city economic issues because if there is a misrepresentation in the amount of people coming to a city, and restaurants prepare and expect that number only to be let down, monetary leakages occur resulting in this economic inefficiency. This can be said for every establishment in the host city at the time of the Super Bowl. The positives and negatives, the advantages and disadvantages of hosting the Super Bowl have now all been presented. Some people may still be on the fence, not sure if it's a good idea or a bad idea to host the big game. I have one more negative externality that could sway some opinions. This externality is building a new stadium to have the game. To host the game and to host the amount of fans and the certain experience the NFL wants these fans to have while at the Super Bowl, many teams now need to build new stadiums or renovate their current stadiums to even be in consideration for the bidding. The worst disadvantage of building a stadium is that it costs $300 million at least in today's world, which costs state and taxpayers a lot since most of these stadiums are mostly publicly funded. In fact, sometimes demolishing old stadiums prematurely causes negative externalities as seen in New York where taxpayers are currently paying bonds on a stadium that doesn't even exist anymore. That's crazy. The state and the city are backed into a corner when a team threatens to leave if a new stadium is not built. This forces the city to approve the stadium with incentives that could hurt the community for years to come after the game is over. Minnesota has used $975 million to build their stadium for the Super Bowl. While they are using the money in an event to revitalize Minneapolis, the same advantage can't be had by other big GDP cities like New York. It is time that teams ask themselves if hosting a large event like the Super Bowl will be beneficial to their economy and their city for years to come after the game, and if hosting a one-day event that might not yield as much money as proposed is worth it in the long run. In my opinion, I think hosting the Super Bowl creates more problems than it's worth, especially when the payoff isn't large in a big economy like a New York or a Philadelphia. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and let's see if the NFL teams take a stand against the big power of the Super Bowl bidding committee. Thank you.